Hello, friends. Today's episode is brought to you by From Within Records. It's been 10 years since Soul Erosion by Blistered came out way back when on 6131 Records. So today, From Within Records is repressing it. The album has been remastered. So if you're a fan of Blistered, please boot up your Spotify, Apple Music, Tidaled, or whatever, and go listen to the remastered version of Soul Erosion. It's awesome. It's featured on the Hardcore Caviar playlist for anyone who is following that. And if you head over to FromWithinRecords.com, you can pre-order the Soul Erosion 12-inch reissue. There's a couple colorways. The test press sold out, but white, black, and red and blue swirl are still available. And also there's a Soul Erosion t-shirt that you can pick up, which I'm very stoked that they have all sizes from small all the way up to 4X. So please do yourself a favor and grab one before it's too late. Seed of Pain, Collateral, Wreckage coming to the West Coast, which I cannot wait. Seed of Pain has been out west before, but Collateral and Wreckage, it's going to be the first time for them, and I cannot wait. 3 awesome bands hitting the West Coast. So please, if you are around in August, please roll out to all the shows. It's going to be an awesome time. If you're not following From Within Records on social media, please go boot up Twitter, go boot up X, go boot up Instagram, click that follow button to stay up to date on all the current news. And like I always say, please support From Within Records because they support us. If you're looking for high quality merch for your band or for your business, please hit up my friends over at Good Fortune Printing out of Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. You can follow them on Instagram at Good Fortune Printing. If you want to get in contact with them, please email them contact@goodfortuneprinting.com. You can thank me later. Before we get into today's guests, the time has arrived for KCON tickets to go on sale. As I'm recording this, I have to purchase an express pass, which this sounds so crazy, right? I don't have to, but I'm going to because I want to have better chances at getting the tickets that I want. So basically, I'm paying a lot of money to get into a pre-sale, which normally I would be upset. But when you look at the 3-day pass for the con this year versus the past 2 years, it's significantly cheaper, which I was excited for at first. I was like, oh, hell yeah. They finally decided to listen and make this way more affordable, because first year I felt like I got my money's worth, right? I was able to bless some people with the quote unquote high touch, but then we were blindsided and we were given a high wave. But I was able to give away some passes away. Like there was like some girls the day before we were at pre-registration, they were trying to get ATs. And to me, ATs isn't my alt group. So I was like, you're looking for ATs? I got you. So I just gave them away, and people were like reselling them for like somebody resold an AT's high touch for like $1,100. And I was like, I'm not in it to make money. So he was like, here, you can have this AT's high touch for free. And I remember I hooked up my homie Luke with a Luna high touch. The only thing that really mattered to me that weekend was Stacy. But yeah, year one for me at KCON, I felt like was way worth it because I got to go to Rookies Night. I snuck into the Stacy sound check. I got to see Stacy perform at Rookies Night, and then got to see them again on the big stage in the crypto arena. And overall, it was just, I felt like a better value because we got like our own exclusive area in the arena. So we weren't like, with all the smelly campers and just a bunch of random people. So I really enjoyed the first year. And then last year, I just didn't enjoy it as much. I got, kicked out of my NMix high touch because apparently the camera that I had was like too professional, which was ridiculous, and I just didn't have as much fun last year as I did the prior year. So I was excited to see the price reduction, but then I started to think about it like, okay, this is way cheaper than before. And then the conspiracy brain started going off. I'm like, okay, maybe it's because the lineup is going to be weak, right? Because when we think about a lot of these bigger artists, Twice isn't going to be there because they only had one appearance in the US this year, and they've already stated like that's it for 2024. aespa is going to be in Japan, I think. ATEEZ is going to be like in Texas. So a lot of these bigger groups aren't going to be available. So I started to think, okay, as long as some of like the newer groups that I haven't seen yet, like I'm dying to see Weekly. And I'm thinking like months ago when Soojin did an interview and said that they're definitely coming to the US this year, I thought KCON would be the perfect fit to have their debut in America. But recently, KCON posted this pamphlet which had a bunch of hints like, okay, like here's the lineup, but you have to kind of decipher what this is. And there was no Weekly in sight. And nothing has been confirmed, but the K-pop stans pretty much broke it down. And looking at the lineup, I was like, yeah, this is the weakest lineup since I've been going to KCON. And I was just like, okay. I was like, Stacy, and this is, like I said, nothing's concrete yet, but based off the clues, the only acts that I was looking forward to seeing is the return of NMIXX, the return of Stacy, which is really awesome because they're about to release a new album, Metamorphic, which I'm really excited for. But then also Somi, which I'm so pumped for because Somi, just like the time in between her comebacks are pretty long. So I'm like, all right, cool. If she's finally going to make it to America, this is something that I'm really looking forward to because she was supposed to go to, what was it called? It was the fest with the green logo. I cannot remember the name of the fest, but she was supposed to go to this fest, and I was going to go, and I was going down at the Rose Bowl, but then it just became like this big disaster. A lot of artists, including Somi, had visa issues, so they couldn't make it to the fest. So that was the one time I was going to see Somi, and she didn't make it. So if she's going to be at KCON, I'll be really excited. But yeah, in about an hour, I got to buy this pass to buy the pre-sale. So hopefully it goes good, because if I can just get to see Stacy, NMIXX, and Somi later this summer, I'll be stoked. But the rest of the lineup is okay. Who knows? Hopefully they'll come out with like some surprise guests, because they've done that before where they announce the initial lineup and then last minute they're like, oh, hey, late edition Stray Kids is going to headline the first night, which was awesome. That goes down later today. The pass to get pre-sale later today, and then pre-sale at the end of the week. So we're hoping for a good outcome. If not, it's all good. It's all good. We have ITZY coming to town next week, which is going to be amazing. But okay, on today's episode, we had to track down our good friend, Lukas. Sings for a band called OK Buddy from the Lehigh Valley. They just released a new EP titled Strays. And like I mentioned earlier, if you're following the Hardcore Caviar playlist, I feature a song from Strays at the end of the playlist because I am such a fan of OK Buddy. When I listen to their music, it's very clear who they draw influences from, and it's bands that I absolutely love. So I was like, this is a no-brainer. I love this music, and to finally be able to have somebody from the band on the podcast and it be a great conversation makes me like the band even more. So if you're not familiar with OK Buddy, please hit pause. Go boot up Bandcamp, right? Because the demo is on Bandcamp, but it's not on any of the DSPs. So go to Bandcamp, and then you can go to the other stuff later. But go to Bandcamp, listen to the demo, which is awesome, and then listen to everything else. I feel like their discography is pretty strong. I enjoy everything from the beginning to Strays, and I'm just a huge fan. So like I said, if you're not familiar, go listen to the music, and then come back here, listen to Lukas and I chop it up about Feet First Productions. If you're not familiar with Feet First, a very hardworking guy. Shout out Jeff. We talk about it all things Pennsylvania. It was fun. So please strap in, enjoy this conversation. Without further ado, welcome Lukas to the show. All right, and we're recording. Welcome to the podcast, Lukas. How's it going?
Good, man. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for being down. You know, you guys came highly recommended through our mutual friend Jeff Feet First. So shout out to Jeff.
The homie. Yeah, shout out Jeff.
Yeah, huge fan of Jeff. He's out there always grinding, killing it. You know, constantly. Putting out content. So for him, to recommend you guys, I was down immediately because I was already aware of the band. But when it came from Jeff, he was like, "Yo, you should, maybe have these guys on." I was like, "Yeah, I'm down." So shout out to Jeff.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. Jeff's a monster. I don't know how he does it.
Same here, man. I can't remember when it was. Maybe it was like last March. Yeah, I think it was last March. I was in Philly for Hardcore Pride weekend, and he filmed both days. And then we went to New Jersey for a show. He filmed the Jersey show, and this was a matinee show. So he filmed the matinee, and then we went to another show that night. And he was like wiped out. He's like, dude, I can't even do this. He's like, do you want to film one of these bands? And I was like, this sounds crazy, but I'm down. And I was holding his rig, and I just cannot believe that he, held it for so long and was just barely tapping it because it's pretty heavy. And obviously he's used to it because that's his standard rig. But I was just like, I was just blown away. I was like, damn, this is crazy that you're doing it, for like these many days and so many sets. And it was just, wild.
I was feeling for him at like FYA and shit. He's just there all day. Like all day.
Yeah, no, for sure.
It's crazy.
Yeah. But puts out quality work. So that's why I always like to put respect on Feet First and Jeff, because it's not easy. So for him to be able to do it consistently, I definitely salute him.
No, man, he's a big part of, I think, like kind of our initial takeoff. Like no doubt about it, because he put out like our first show, and then we had like a really dope show in Wilkes-Barre at Curry Donuts. And he did a lot for us. So I am forever grateful for that dude. And so is everybody in our band. He is the homie. He has been the homie since OK Buddy started. So we'll always appreciate that dude. Okay.
And if you can, start there, can you talk about the origins of OK Buddy, like how the band got together?
Yeah. So it's kind of a cool origin story. It was, I was in a band prior to OK Buddy, prior to COVID for a couple of years. It was just kind of like a grind, power violence-y, hardcore band, false grind maybe. And that band broke up. It was a COVID, COVID casualty band. And it was no ill will between any of the band members or anything. It just kind of fizzled out through COVID when everything shut down. And through that, I was doing my own solo stuff for a while, and I got burnt out on that. And then I was like, man, I got to get in another band. I needed to do something. It was kind of like COVID was kind of, on the tail end, kind of slowing down. People were starting to do stuff again. So I wanted to do something different from that, and, kind of something less angry. I noticed that there were a lot of kids in hardcore and a lot of people in hardcore who I think just kind of wanted something a little different. I went to a lot of mixed bills, and I always enjoyed those kind of mixed bills where it's like, mostly hardcore bands, but you might have like that one weird band or whatever there. And I felt like there was more and more of kind of a want for that within the scene. So I was like, well, I'll do something, that kind of fits in there, but isn't necessarily like bare bones hardcore or anything. And I knew I had an old friend from high school who I fell out of touch with just over like some high school bullshit. And we didn't talk for like 10 years. And I knew he was a drummer. I knew he had been in bands when we were in high school. I used to go to his band shows, and I knew he was a really good drummer. And I was just like, I'm just going to hit this guy up. And I literally like hadn't had an actual conversation with him in like 10 years. And I was just like, I'm going to hit him up and see what happens. So I texted him, Dan, our drummer Dan, and I texted Dan and I said, just like, hey man, you want to start a band? And his reply back was, I thought you'd never ask. And then we were just like, all right. So I went over to his place. We live in the same hometown. We grew up in the same hometown. I went over to his place. I just brought my guitar. He set up his kit. I had a couple riffs and just some real general ideas. And we just like hit it off immediately. Everything that I was throwing out, he would just pick up on immediately. He's such a phenomenal drummer and is just like able to read whatever like I'm trying to do, any riff or any idea that I pitch out. He just like, he knows what I'm going for. And when he throws something out, like I know what he's going for. We just sync up so well. And we wrote that first EP. I mean, the first EP was just me and him. I mean, we wrote all that. We recorded some demos in his basement. And then we hit up Zach from Landmine. Shout out Zach, the homie. And we went and recorded that EP. We had recruited two other band members by the time we went to record that EP. We just taught them the songs, went and recorded the EP, started playing shows, and it just, snowballed from there. It just picked up steam, and we just kept playing shows, kept rocking, worked through a lot of our friends, doing merch and setting up shows, and yeah, it just went from there. But I mean, originally it started just me and Dan, and we kind of picked people up from there on, and they've been contributing ever since.
I think it's wild that you guys went so long without talking, and the first communication back was like, "Hey, do you want to start a band?"
Yeah. Well, it's funny, like you look back on stuff, and for me, like I used to really struggle with like holding on to some shit. And it was kind of just one of those things where like when you fall out of touch with somebody, you get just in the habit of not talking to them. And then after a while, it's like, you don't really know where to start or whatever. And it's kind of just, we both kind of went our separate ways. And after so long, it's like, you're not even like mad about anything, or like there's not even any ill feelings. It was just like dumb high school shit. And yeah, I was just like, I'm just gonna hit this dude up and see if he wants to do something. And we were both immediately like, yeah. And it's been like, we're like best friends. It's cool. I love that dude. And this band would not be this band without him.
Yeah, well, I think that's awesome that you guys were able to, spend some time apart, but just, kind of get right back to it and, have an awesome friendship and start a really cool band.
Yeah, it is pretty awesome.
Now, I'm curious, when you recorded those demos, did you know that you were going to have a quick turnaround to actually put out that first EP? Because all the songs on the demo ended up on the EP.
Yeah. All aside from the last song on the EP along the way. That one, it's actually cool. And I don't know if everybody knows, but our demo that we recorded is actually on Bandcamp. It's not on Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the demo songs that we recorded. I think they sound really cool. And it's a little different from the EP, but it's all still there except for that last song. And you can actually hear in Eulogy, which is the last song on the demo, you can hear when we end that song, it kind of like going into how Along the Way starts. And then it just kind of fades out because we literally just like, we had how it's going to start and didn't really figure out the rest. So we just kind of like faded it out. But I love those demos. They're a lot of fun. They still hold a special place in my heart. But yeah, It I think we wrapped up that demo that we did pretty quick. I mean, it was probably like a couple weeks, and then we had all the songs figured out, and then it was really just kind of recruiting some other members and teaching them the parts, setting up the date to go record, and that's a whole process in itself. So that took a couple months between the time we had recruited people and set up our schedule to record and then go do it, mix everything and get it back. The most painstaking, anxiety-inducing process of all time, waiting for your music to be ready to be released. But yeah, it gave us time to kind of practice with like the full band. And then by the time the EP came out, we were ready to just start ripping shows.
Yeah, and I love that you guys still have the demo up, because I do like the demo recordings, and also like the recordings on the EP too, but it's just nice to be able to go back and just kind of hear like I guess like earlier versions of it.
Yeah, it's very cool. If anybody hasn't checked it out, I recommend giving it a listen. I think they're pretty neat.
And I'm also curious too, because obviously when you look at the cover of the demo and then the first EP, it's like the first EP is just like a more like finished version of the demo cover. Was that always the plan? Like, hey, like let's just do black and white, and then we'll color everything in and add this logo.
Yeah, it's actually the reverse. So we had messed around with some of our own artwork, and we were doing that for a while, and we were actually going to use like our own artwork that we came up with for the EP. But the more we thought about it, kind of the approach we really wanted to take for that band was just to reach out to a lot of other like DIY artists or anybody, and just kind of outsource a lot of the art and everything just for networking purposes. And we do that for like our merch. Like a lot of the designs and everything for our merch, we try to do merch through different outlets like Good Fortune, Soaked in Ink, LVAC. We do, we outsource some of that just to kind of coordinate with other people and network with other people, and the same with the artwork. But for that artwork specifically, we went to a dude named Theo. I can't remember his last name. But he did that artwork, and he did like the full color version. And then we figured, well, we never went with the original demo art or anything that we came up with, which we could have. It might have been cool if we did that, but we figured we would take the EP art and just, neutralize all the colors and just kind of strip it down just to represent, the demo being kind of a less finished product of the EP. So that's kind of the idea behind that.
And when the demo came out, did you guys always want to have that quick turnaround? Because, I feel like there was not that much time in between. And normally when a new band comes out, obviously, it might take a little time to get some traction. And, a lot of bands don't even make it past the demo. So I'm just so surprised that it has such a quick turnaround to the EP from the demo.
Yeah. So, yeah, the demo we only released on Bandcamp. I don't even know if we released it before the EP actually came out. We might have put the demo up after the fact. We had shared the demo with like some of our friends and stuff, but we never put it on Spotify or Bandcamp, I think, until the actual EP came out. But, that said, and the reason we kind of did that was the idea was for us always to be ready to play as many shows as we could right when we put like the first product out. So at that point we were like, all right, well, we have the demo, we already have the EP recorded. By that point we had, gotten everybody, all the new bandmates we had ready to play shows. So it was like, all right, we're just going to drop the EP and then we're just going to start playing shows immediately and do it kind of all in one tape, rather than, releasing the demo or releasing the EP and then trying to get shows, or trying to do shows before we had anything to really put out. So we figured that we're just going to do the whole thing all at once.
And will the demo ever make it to the DSPs?
I don't know. We've thought about doing like either like some comp stuff maybe, or throw it in with like some singles, or maybe if we ever do like a B-sides thing, we could put it out on that and then put that out on streaming. But I think for now we're just going to keep it on Bandcamp. I think it's cool that it's kind of just like a little hidden treasure that's not on streaming stuff. But yeah, maybe one day we might put it out on something. But it's out there if anybody wants to listen to it. You just gotta look for it.
yeah, and honestly, like I normally go to see if bands have Bandcamp first. That's where I'll check first, because I feel like everybody should have one, but there are bands who don't, which is totally fine. But I normally start there, and then I'll work my way to the the Spotify, the Apple Music, YouTube, wherever after that. So it is a nice surprise when you go to a certain platform. You're like, oh, they have like an exclusive.
Yeah, I think that's cool.
And I'm also curious on the Bandcamp page for the EP along the way. Do you know who wrote that little story about you guys in like the About Me section?
Oh, I don't even know. I'd have to look. It might have been Dan. Let me see here. I'll look it up. Okay, I'm already on, actually.
Because I read it and I was like, okay, this is a nice read, a fun way to sell the band. So I always get interested, and I like that you guys or whoever took the time to write that, because it's just something a little extra. Because sometimes bands will just put things up, but then there's just it's bare bones. There's nothing else there. But for you guys to add extra stuff like that, I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I can't even find it on here right now, but I want to say that it was Dan. Can't be positive because. Are you talking about specifically? Yeah, I think it's specifically on like the EPs.
Yeah.
Page. Yeah. Yeah, that was definitely Dan. That was definitely Dan. He's more poetic than me.
Shout out Dan.
The drummer.
Yeah. Well, it was a great write-up. I definitely enjoyed reading that. It's fun.
Yeah, shout out Dan.
And I've watched some live sets of Okay Buddy, and I noticed that there's a time where you were playing guitar and singing, but it seems as of late you're just singing. Is there like a preference one over the other?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I think a lot of people end up saying the same thing when they're asked this. It's hard. It's hard as shit to play guitar and sing, especially like for us. And don't get me wrong, we're not playing anything like super complicated by any means. We use a lot of weird chords and stuff, but we're not really playing like nobody's shredding. Some like people that like shred and sing, that's just like a different kind of person. It's like that is a special kind of person that can do that, because my brain can barely handle, if we throw any like syncopated rhythms or anything, it's just it's so difficult. It's a lot of fun and I really enjoy doing it. I like playing guitar and I really like doing vocals, but ultimately, like when we started, we were kind of just doing it out of necessity because we hadn't found like the right other person to do guitar. The idea was always kind of to be like a full band and have me just doing vocals. But out of the beginning, it was kind of just out of necessity. It is very helpful. Like if we have a bandmate down or something that like can't make a show, like we have people that are like multi-instrumentalists. So like, for example, there have been a couple shows like where Dan couldn't make it, but Nate, our other guitarist, he plays drums. So sometimes we'll just like swap him out. Like if it takes a lot for us to be able to be like, oh shit, we can't do this show now, because usually somebody can always like fill in for somebody else. That is like the benefit of having 5 people in your band. But yeah, I still think about doing it sometimes, even just to like pick up an extra guitar for certain songs and have like 3 guitars and just do like some other cool stuff over top of everything else. But ultimately for me, I feel like, and this is just me, because other people have like told me that they like when I play guitar and do vocals. But for me personally, I feel like I can't give 100% to both things at the same time. So I would rather just do vocals because then I can jump around and be an idiot. And I think that's like part of the show. That's a big thing for me. Like I get really bored for like non-performers, especially vocalists. Like if somebody's just like standing there and not being entertaining, that just drives me insane. The Barney from Napalm Death is the person who like made me want to become a vocalist. And it's just because the first time I ever saw them, I was just so blown away by that guy's stage performance and how just like how much of a nut that dude is. I was like, I have to do this. So I like just doing vocals because I feel like I can put forth my best effort in just doing that. When I'm playing guitar and doing vocals, I feel like I'm playing like 80% or maybe less of like how I should be playing guitar, and then like 80% or less of how I should be doing vocals. So I would rather just be doing like as good as I can at that one thing instead of kind of half-ass in both things.
And when you were able to, find another guitar player where you were able to switch roles where you could just do vocals, was that like a relief where you could be, more free? Oh
yeah. We were very happy, and fortunately Nate, who we met, Nate and I met just from going to shows at Carl Hall in Wilkes-Barre, and him and I were both like the two dudes that would just like go to shows by ourselves, and we would always just kind of be like standing on the side by ourselves. And we ended up, just talking, and it was like, oh, you have to drive like an hour plus to get everywhere too, because I kind of live out of the way of a lot of stuff. He lives way out of the way of a lot of stuff. And we just kind of started talking through that and asked him to join the band. And that dude is such an awesome guitarist and just a tremendous benefit to our band, especially, being able to play drums too. That once we brought him in and kind of set him up with everything, and I was able to just do my thing, everybody else was able to do their thing and, put forth their best effort in doing that. I felt like it made for a better performance and just a more entertaining show to be at than having me just kind of standing in place.
And shout out Carl Hall. I was able to go there once before they decided to close up shop.
I miss that place, man. I miss that place. I met people at that place who played a huge role in this band. And if that, and just in my life, if I hadn't started going to that place, I don't know if OK Buddy would even be a thing if I hadn't started going to that place, to be completely honest. That place had a huge place in my heart. And, Wilkes-Barre will go on. It is going on. There's still stuff happening. Got out Curry Donuts. And, it will prevail, as it always has.
Yeah, for sure. I have, faith in the scene out there. They've always consistently, had cool stuff coming out of there. And I'm waiting for the skate jam to get announced. So hopefully that happens soon. So
after that.
Yeah. So
after that, that's gonna be a tight one.
Yeah. Because I'm a huge fan of what Caleb has done in the past couple of years with it, and I've always wanted to go, but it was just bad timing on my part. But I told myself, I'm like, all right, this year, if it happens, like I'm making it a priority. So I bugged Caleb about it a couple times, but I'm just waiting for like the official announcement, and then as soon as that happens, I'm going to buy a plane ticket and head out there this year for it.
It's a good time, man. It's a lot of fun. I went to the last two, or the first two, I guess.
Yeah.
And, it's a fun time. It's a lot of cool. I like when they bring out the dirt bikes and shit. I think like the one year one crashed through the tent or something. It was pretty sick. But yeah, it's a good time. Highly recommend it for anybody in the area or out of the area that wants to go. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And you mentioned, you would roll out to these gigs by yourself, which I think is, awesome, because I go to like probably 90% of the shows like by myself, just because I like to be able just to get in and get out and not have to, wait on a bunch of people. And it's just also sometimes there's just too many people. I just don't want to be socializing.
Yeah. I did it most of my life, man. I didn't know. So where I grew up, like I didn't really get into hardcore until I was in like my 20s and out of high school because I just didn't know anybody in high school that was into that.
Mm-hmm.
I knew, there were like, like skate punk kids, and that was it. The only hardcore I knew when I was in high school was like Black Flag, and that was just punk to me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know that that was technically hardcore or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I went to shows just because I didn't know anybody that was going to like hardcore or like more extreme music, which is also like a lot of what I was into was like some more extreme shit. And I just didn't know anybody that was into that stuff. So I went by myself for years until I was in like my mid 20s, probably, until I just started meeting people at shows. And, that's kind of how I made a lot of my friends in the scene, was just by going to shows by myself. And now it's cool because like I'll still go to shows by myself. And now it's just, wherever I go in, PA, Jersey, I know somebody. I'll see somebody that I know. So I'm never, even though I'm going to shows alone, I'm never totally alone when I go to shows. That's what I love about that scene.
Yeah, and I feel if you stick around long enough, you'll meet some cool people along the way. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's cool to hear that. Through your journey of going to shows, you're able to meet some real friends.
For all the kids awkwardly standing in the corner by yourself, just hang in there. you will make friends. I guarantee. Just gotta stick to it.
Yeah, or go dap somebody up, say what's up to somebody, see how it goes. Yeah, because for the longest time, because even when I moved to Orange County, at that point, I've been going to shows for, if I moved out here in 2010, probably been going to shows for like 8 years at that point. But there was a period of time where the people that I was hanging around, they didn't really want to kind of keep up with the times in terms of hardcore. Like they were okay with what they knew, and they just didn't want to support any of the newer bands coming out, which I always thought was like pretty ridiculous. So there was a point where I felt like I had to like have like a reset where I was going to shows alone, and I literally didn't know a whole lot of people like outside of like people in certain bands. But once again, you go for so long, you start to recognize faces, people start to recognize you, and then friendships will pop up here and there. So yeah, like even after moving out here with so much experience under my belt, I basically had to start over in terms of knowing people.
Yeah, a couple of years could definitely throw you off, because I went to college. I went away for college for 3 years, and even that, like coming back, you're kind of like starting over from whatever you were doing before that, and then I was in West Virginia, so I was only going to shows really in where I was at in Morgantown in West Virginia. And then every once in a while, like for break, I would come home. If there was something going on, I would go. But, even that 3 years can kind of throw you out of the loop a little bit. But I always did my best to still pay attention to what's going on just virtually, even if I couldn't make it out. So, but yeah, it can throw you off, if you're away like that for a couple of years. But sometimes starting over is not a bad thing. Meet new people and get exposed to new stuff, and it's not all bad.
True. Yeah, I agree. But going back to Carl Hall, I am curious. Do you have a favorite show that you went to at that venue?
Yeah, I think it was. I'll be honest. Some of my favorite shows, and this might sound weird to some people, but some of my favorite shows there, and there were a lot of awesome shows there, were seeing my buddy Tom from Planning for Burial, because he was kind of a local act. And those, I think one of his shows was one of the first shows that I went to there. And, that just kind of holds a special place in my heart, because Tom was a big part of kind of making me feel welcome to that area, because I'm not from there. It takes me about an hour and a half to get to Wilkes-Barre. But, he became a good friend of mine, and it holds a special place in my heart, kind of going to some of those early shows when, again, like I didn't know anybody. I was just there and, kind of finding my way. But aside from that, I think it was, I saw One Step Closer a few times there, and that's always a good time. But I want to say it was it was either One Step Closer and Koyo or Anxious and Koyo, or maybe it was all three. I can't remember, but whichever one that was one of my favorite ones. I remember Caleb jumped off a speaker onto like Dan's head because Dan went with me to one of those shows, and that was always kind of a funny memory.
That's awesome. And that tour package is happening again, right? They just wrapped up a tour not too long ago, but then they just announced that it's coming out west. Which is cool because they did it years ago on the tour that you mentioned. So it's awesome to see. So, and you mentioned you live about an hour away. I know that the band on social media, puts the Lehigh Valley. So I'm just assuming like you guys are all spread out through over there.
Yeah. So we started in the Lehigh Valley, which for anybody who doesn't know is like Bethlehem, Allentown, Easton area. I'm from Nazareth. Dan's from Nazareth. Doug is from Hellertown, which is a little out of the ways from here, but not by much. I think he's like 20 minutes maybe away from us. Nate is from out in kind of central Pennsylvania. And Ben, when we met him, was living in Jersey. Now he's living in Maryland. And shout out Ben for, I don't know how he does it, but driving from Maryland to the Valley every week for practice or for shows or wherever. Dude's a trooper. And Nate. We thought Nate had it rough for a while until Ben moved to Maryland. Now Ben has the longest trek. But the band started in the Valley, and three of us are still from the Valley, so we're still a Valley band in my eyes. And I think the Valley needs more stuff going on right now. So if we can be a part of that, I'm happy to.
I flew into Allentown a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. I don't remember anything about the airport. All I remember is Dan from Warren picked me up and drove me to Wilkes-Barre.
Nice. Yeah, it's not a great airport, but it's ours.
Yeah. I had to land there because it was either there or Philly, and I was just like, when both are kind of far from where I needed to be, but that was like the closer option between the two.
Yeah.
But that is cool that you guys represent that area. Do you feel like there's not a whole lot going on out there currently?
Yeah, it's us and Controller, Last Man Out. I don't know if they're technically still a Valley band or not because Stucky's in Philly now. But I just wish, and I don't want to get too into the roots with this, but I just wish there were more. I wish there was more interest around this area of music for the sake of music. To me, there is a lot of potential because there's a lot of people here. There's a lot of kids here. There's colleges, so there's a lot of potential. But to me, there is only a very select few people who are willing to put on shows just for the sake of having shows. I think there's a lot of people in this area that want to do shows either so they can bring people to their business or get on some kind of article and say, look what we're doing. We're doing this fest or we're doing this thing. We're having these bands. And a lot of the time they're the same bands that have been around for year after year that, do only Valley shows. There's not a lot of interest in bringing people from outside of the Valley to have shows in the Valley. And, I wish there were more people that were and spaces, because spaces are the other big thing. There aren't a lot of spaces to just do like DIY shows just for the sake of having a show and having people come out to the show and have some kind of scene. It's always, to me, it always seems like there's some kind of ulterior motive for people to put on some kind of show or have some band do something or play something. And it's frustrating at times. And, we've made our way by playing outside of the Valley. And it's not to say that we don't still play in the Valley. We do. There's certain people that we still want to work with and we still love doing shows. But you can't make a name for yourself if you're just playing in your own area. You can't do it. You have to go other people and expose people to your music. You know, social media and all that shit's only going to get you so far. And, you know, that's only, to me, that's a small part of what you're supposed to do as a band. You know, you just put your music online and people are going to listen to it and go, ooh, wow, you know, that's cool. But if you're not going to shows and meeting people and going and supporting other bands and just exposing people to the reality of what you do as compared to just what you're, you know, putting online, it's not going to get you. It'll only get you so far. You know, half of the show or half of a band, at the point of, you know, being in a band and playing shows, half of the show is visual. Anybody can just, you know, listen to your music, but if you're not playing shows and giving somebody some kind of physical experience, there's not a lot of point, in my opinion, of doing it at all. So, you know, yeah, I love the Valley. It's still home. Hopefully, you know, at some point, things will be a little different. As of right now, it's a little stagnant, in my opinion, but still love it. Still call it home. And we're still a Valley band. So it's what it is.
Yeah. Having a lack of venues is really tough because, you know, if you run into a place that might be interested in hosting a show and then to try to have to explain to them, like, you know, what's going to go on, they might not, you know, be too willing after seeing, you know, aggressive stuff, you know, if you have to show them examples with like videos or whatever.
Yeah. And that's the challenge. You know, having the space is one thing, but then having the space and having people who just want to do the right thing with that space, which is just have shows and have a community, that's another thing. And if you don't have those people that are really in it just for the community, even if you have the spaces, if you can't do anything with that and you can't have a community, you might as well not have it.
Yeah, for sure. Because if people aren't doing it, you know, for like the genuine reasons, like, you know, for the music scene or whatever, I feel like that kind of stuff gets found out eventually. And, you know, and then that stuff just fades away and you know, then you kind of have to start over. Yeah.
There's a Pizza Hut down the street that's been closed for a couple of years. I keep thinking about buying it and flipping it into some kind of take out a loan and put myself in some serious debt to have some kind of space where we can just do whatever we want. And I mean, can you imagine just like, and it's one of the old Pizza Hut buildings too, with like the hut shape. I mean, I can't think of a better staple DIY space than an old Pizza Hut.
Yeah. And it's one of the ones that it was like a restaurant.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. 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 Those aren't that common because like there's one up the street from where I live. But like outside of that, because I live in Orange County, California. I live in Anaheim, and there's a restaurant, Pizza Hut, up the street, which is pretty modern. Like it got remodeled like not that long ago. But thinking about like the rest of Orange County, I can't think of another restaurant Pizza Hut. Like all the other ones are just like, you know, you just drive up, pick up your pizza, and leave.
Yeah, no, this one's been here forever. This one's been here since I was born. I think that I think it closed over COVID, but you know, it's got to be a nice open space in there. You probably have to gut it, but I mean, it would just be cool. And it's in like the perfect spot too. If anybody's listening to this and you have money to start a venue, start a DIY spot, hit up the Pizza Hut in Nazareth.
All right. Or you guys got to just pull your money together and make it work.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe one day. It's the dream. It's part of the retirement plan.
Hey,
so it's quite a ways out, but you know, if it's still there at that time, maybe I'll make it happen.
Yeah, just wait for, you know, rent to go down, you know, real estate take a crash, and then the Pizza Hut will be affordable.
I've been waiting. We've all been waiting, man.
Well, hopefully that'd be awesome if somebody could figure something out and open up a venue, because that's one big hurdle, is to be able to have a spot to host it. But then obviously once you get over that hurdle, there's a bunch more stuff that you have to deal with.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not easy. Everybody probably thinks it's easy. Yeah, I'll just buy this building and do shows. You know, somebody's going to come knocking, say, hey, knock this shit off. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I want to move on. You know, after the EP, you guys released 2 singles, Time's Up and Buried in My Backyard.
Yeah.
Can you talk about what those songs are about?
Yeah, not a lot of people talk about those, but I think they're cool songs. And it was a little bit of and again, it came down to we wanted to just kind of network with some other people. We had these two other songs that we those were the first songs that we really, I think, put together as a full band. Because again, the EP was just me and Dan. Those were the first songs that we really did as a full band. And we said, well, let's just, everything kind of lined up where like we had it. We figured, we could use this and put out some more content and keep people engaged and keep people interested. And we went to Shards, which is a dude right in Bethlehem here. He's got a small DIY recording space. And we were like, yeah, let's just take these two songs, go down, record it there, put them out, just so we can keep some people engaged. And I like those two songs a lot. We don't play Time's Up too often anymore, but that song, as far as like importance to me personally, that song is probably one of the most important to me. I wrote that about like one of my best friends, who is he's been an alcoholic since we were like in high school, and he's 32 now. And I don't know. I mean, what is there to say? Everybody knows somebody, right? So I love that dude to death, and I wrote that song about him, and that song still has a very special place in my heart. And then Bimby, Buried in My Backyard, aka Bimby, that song it's funny. I have the worst like opinions on our own music, because it's like every time I think a song is not going to do well, it ends up being like one of our fan favorites. And that song, when we wrote it, was like, I was just like, man, this song, I don't know. I didn't think it was going to do well. And we ended up always playing. We usually play that song last on our set, because it kind of has this like really cool fade out finish, and people love that shit. Like it's a cool time for me, like when we play live at that like ending section of that song, to bring everybody back up, and everybody can just like chill out to that last part of that song and dance or whatever, and mosh and cartwheel, which I never in a million years thought I would see playing the kind of music that we play, but here we are. But yeah, I like those two songs a lot. They're a little different. The recording quality is different. I like it. It was a lot of fun working with Matt Shards, and yeah, I think they're kind of two cool little gems that I think probably get underlooked as far as the recording, but Bimby is one of our strongest songs, I think, live. So it's kind of cool.
And I'm really curious about the artwork, because I'm like staring at like the center of it, and I'm looking at like what looks like it would be like on like a rotary phone, but it's just like going backwards. And I'm like, what is this? Like, where's it from? There's like a clock in the center of that.
Yeah. So we wanted to just combine like the theme of Time's Up and then Buried in My Backyard. And I had that idea for kind of going like, I don't know, that like 30s or 40s aesthetic. And we did that artwork through Dog Bites Back, Katie. Shout out Katie. We just asked, I gave her the idea, and she just rolled with that and came up with that. It was perfect. And yeah, that one, the boundary and everything around it, we did on our own. But the artwork itself, she did that just based off of the ideas I gave her, which were based off of just kind of themes from those two songs. But yeah, it's like an old phone, like in a clock or something. I can't remember. And then the kid, burying his box of his dead pet or whatever's in there. Who knows? You can make up your own idea for what's in the box.
I thought that was like a Bible or something, if I'm being honest. Like looking at it. Yeah.
So that be whatever you want.
Yeah, but it's interesting. It's fun. I enjoyed looking at it and just like, all right. And once again, I feel like that fits the two songs. So
yeah, and I like the lyrics of Buried in My Backyard too. Just the idea of kind of that, fading youth or whatever. Those ideas of whatever you grew up with and it kind of being behind you. So I like that song. I like those two songs.
Yeah. I think they're awesome. You guys have the EP, those two songs, and then I'm gonna bring up the current EP, and I think it's all good.
Yeah, thank you.
So you guys went hard in 2022, right? You had those, all those releases, but 2023 there was no new music. Did you guys need a break on writing, or was that planned?
We wanted to. We wanted to really just keep the momentum of playing those shows and kind of getting our name out there a little bit before we released that EP. And, in the process, we were writing those songs. So there's always that delay of, I don't know, 2-3 months or whatever from, by the time you start getting ready to record until by the time it actually happens, and then you put out the music or pick your release date or whatever. But we just wanted to kind of go hard with playing shows and get our name out that way for a while and focus on that, and then kind of, poke in here and there some of the new ideas that we had. And we wanted to really make sure that those songs were good and ready. That was the big part of it. We weren't rushing anything. We wanted to make sure that by the time, we were going to record, that we were ready and everything was ready to go. So, there were a lot of moving parts there, but I think we used the time just fine, just with playing those shows and getting our name out there. And it was a little bit of break, but I think we put out Time's Up Bimby kind of at the end of 2022, I want to say.
Yeah.
So that kind of, kept some momentum. We kept doing merch and we kept doing all that stuff, and it ended up working out all right, I think, for us.
Okay. And, I read somewhere that, the next release, you guys wanted to do an LP, but, here we are, and it came out as an EP. Was there a reason for the switch up?
It was always our intent to be an EP. I'm not sure where that came from or who said that. Was it one of us? I don't think it was me.
I'll have to go look at the article.
Maybe.
Okay. And I enjoyed the new EP Strays. And you guys put out for the, I don't know if it's fair to call it a single, but you guys put out a Third Degree first, like on the lead up.
Yeah.
Can you talk about why you chose that one first over all the other ones?
Yeah. So we wrote that song to be a single. It was intentional. And we've always been very kind of methodical in how we write. Especially for me, it was like, my writing process is, everything has a place. I'm going to write an opening song. And again, that's what we did with the new EP, was like Fall Forward was written to be an opening song. Third Degree was written to be a single. Cut the Cord was written to be kind of that halfway song, and so on and so forth. So everything was very intentional, because I think it's very important for even an EP, even if it's 3, 4, 5 songs, to have some kind of, it's got to have some kind of flow to it. I don't, at least for me, I don't operate in just like, I'm just going to write a song whenever. I always have some kind of idea of, I want it to start like this. I want there to be this. I want it to end like this. So Third Degree was very intentionally supposed to be a single, and we released it at that. It did well. I think it's definitely, to me, the catchiest song on the EP, and that's why we dropped it as a single. But even that, I don't think you can get the whole picture of the EP from just listening to that song. Every song kind of has its own little flavor to it, which is what I'm proud of for that EP.
And I'm also curious too, on your YouTube page, there's a video of you guys performing Third Degree, and I'm assuming it's like a basement.
Yeah, it's at my house.
Okay.
So Dan and I have some kind of recording or producing experience. I recorded my own music all throughout COVID. And Dan kind of has his own setup in his basement for recording drums. And even when we did the demos, he has a little PA system, and we mic his kit, we mic all the guitars and run everything through that. And that's how we recorded those demos. But I've always wanted to do more kind of production, and I finally, just within, just in March here, I finally moved into my new place here, and I've accumulated so many wares for recording over the years of just, doing it wherever I was before this. And now I actually have like the space to do drums and everything. So we figured, hey, we have, the equipment to be able to, record a proper demo and, do a little live footage of us running through that. And it's just putting out some kind of content, something for people to watch or enjoy or whatever. And it's good practice for me to be, tracking some music.
And I'm very curious about that video because when you cut to the drum cam, that was shot at a different time than when it's like on the main cam of like the other members, like kind of facing each other.
Yeah. So are you talking about the one for Third Degree, right? Just
yeah,
play through.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that I think it was, I think, recorded at the same time. I think Dan just had either a little GoPro or something that he set up there, or maybe one of his other cameras, and then we just took the footage from both and spliced everything together. So we had the videos and then the audio that I tracked, and then we just combined everything and kind of chopped up so we can switch back and forth between the drum cam and the full band, because drums just so showy. We can't not show off his talents.
Yeah, because I was trying to figure out placement. I'm like, where the hell is he in the room? Because it would cut to the angles, and the reason why I thought it was different because I don't know which guitar player was closest to him because the t-shirt colors didn't match. I was like, oh, maybe this was shot at different times.
Maybe it was. I don't remember.
Yeah, but that's cool that that's in your basement, because it's cool to have your own space like that to be able to do a cool video like that. Because also in the music video for Strays, you guys shot down there as well, correct?
Yeah. So we shot that just in my house, and we had that idea for a while. And Nate has that camera that I think his parents either bought for him or gave him. He wanted to use that, and Nate really took most of the work for that video. Props to him for kind of just taking that on himself. And we shot it in my house. He shot some footage of his dogs out at his property or his parents' property, and he put everything together for that. And I think it came out cool. I'm happy with it. We chose that song, I think, because again, it's like the last song on the EP. It's the title track, so it seemed to make sense that would be one to put out for a music video. And I'm proud that we just did that pretty much totally on our own, other than having the digital film. I don't know if you digitize it or however you do it with those old cameras. I'm not a camera guy.
Yeah, I have no idea either.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was cool to have like that that vintage look. It feels like we're watching somebody's like old family video.
Yeah, and it stuck with the theme of just like the album artwork and everything too. So.
And can you talk about the album art? Like, do you know, is that a photo somebody took, or is that just like random?
Yeah. So we played around with a bunch of these old photos that I found from like my dad and his group of friends from when they were, I don't know, in their 20s back in the 80s. And they used to go out to central Pennsylvania and just ride dirt bikes and drive the trucks around and shoot guns and camp and do all that fun, Appalachian stuff. Appalachian, sorry, I don't want to piss anybody off from my area. And we found all those old photos. I thought they were really cool. So we played around with a lot of those. We used a bunch of them for Third Degree and just like some of the promotional stuff we were doing. And that one photo of the kid on the motorcycle, I thought it was just such a great photo and such like an eye capturing picture. And that we decided to use that. It had like the perfect amount of space and just the perfect focal point. I'm a huge fan of like photography and album artwork. I'm a huge fan of like having something specific to like look at and remember. And I've used this example before, but like the Tiger's Jaw self-titled record is one that always comes to mind, just with like the slice of pizza. It's so iconic, and that's something that's just like burned into your memory. So I think either having like a face or like an action shot of something specific or something to like just look at and remember, to me is what I like in album art. And that's not to say that, you know, there's anything wrong with anything else. It's just, to me, that's what I really personally like. And, you know, we presented that to the group. Everybody was down with it. We had a lot of material that we were like, well, we can use this for like the main artwork. And then we have a lot of other stuff that we can use like for promotion and, you know, the rest of the artwork for, you know, the cassette or the CD or whatever we're doing. And, yeah, I think it came out really cool. Steve, I'm going to forget his last name again, from Stand Still. It's Color Code Studios, I think. And he did like the layout and everything for that artwork that we gave him. So shout out Stand Still. Those are the homies. We love those dudes. And he absolutely did such a great job with that album artwork. We couldn't be happier. And yeah, the cassette will have like its own little layout. We're going to do a CD that's going to have its own kind of layout. And maybe vinyl one day. I don't know. But yeah, really, I'm stoked about that artwork. I mean, it means something to me. It's definitely sentimental, but I think it fits the vibe of the EP and just the whole theme of kind of these like vagabond renegade kids in the 80s that were just going out to the woods in the middle of nowhere to just be by themselves and, you know, be outlaws and live in doing whatever they wanted out there. I think it's just kind of a cool theme. So yeah, I like that artwork.
With it. I think the cover is cool. You know, I really love the stars with the OK, you know, buddy, or the OK BD. I don't know why I think that's so cool.
Yeah, that was all Steve. Steve came up with that. The OK BD we had come up with Oklahoma Beatdown. Shout out Mike Boyer. He came up with the our hidden acronym. But yeah, the OK BD. I think that's a cool kind of play on the band name, and it just looks cool. It's just great for design. That was a big part of the band name in itself, was kind of just, you know, we wanted something that would look good, you know, when you write it out, you know, that would be easy to make some like cool logos or whatever out of. And, you know, it proved very successful in that OKBD with the stars that Steve came up with. So
yeah, definitely happy to see it on merch.
Yeah, for sure. I'm stoked on. We got the new shirts out with the stars on them. Very happy with those. We got some other stuff coming out that should be out pretty soon. Hopefully by the time this comes out, we're going to have some new. We have it in hand. We just have to put it up on Bandcamp. But It's pretty sick. Very stoked on it.
And I'm stoked on CDs too, because sometimes I feel like that's a format that gets overlooked.
Yeah, I think it's coming back, man. I think it's coming back. I'm happy to see it coming back.
Yo, all these up here are all CDs.
Yeah. I have a collection myself.
Yeah.
I still buy them. I moved to cassettes for a while because that just seems to be a lot more of what people do. And I understand, because it's like, I don't know. I think cassettes are a really cool format. I think they look neat. I think you can do a lot of cool stuff with the layout, and there's just something about that tape and like coloring the tape and putting whatever design you want on the tape. And it's a really cool format. They're super affordable to make, which is the coolest thing about them. I mean, it's one format that you can almost entirely, you know, just do by yourself. You can buy all the materials, you can print the card stock and make your, you know, layout. You can do the whole thing just totally yourself. You can dub the tapes. CDs are a little more difficult to do. But yeah, the CD, I think CDs are coming back. I think it's a less interesting format as far as like the inside panels and everything than cassettes are. But I mean, I grew up listening to CDs, so they hold a special place in my heart. I didn't really grow up listening to cassettes. I still buy them all the time just because, like everybody else, it's just kind of something to buy to support the band, and it looks cool on a shelf. I do finally have like a record, vinyl, CD, and cassette like combo thing that I got from my grandpa. That's pretty cool. So I can listen to my cassettes now, which is nice. But yeah, I see more and more people doing the CDs, which I'm stoked on because I think they are, like you said, I think they're kind of a hidden gem that people stopped doing for a while. And now that I see it coming back, it's kind of cool. So
yeah,
stoked on it.
I think it's like, even though the only place I can listen to CDs is in my car, because my car has a CD player, but outside of that, I don't have anything that has a disc drive. Like my computer doesn't read CDs.
That's the other cool thing about cassettes too, is like you can get the little like cassette deck with like the headphones.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think Walkmans are cool. Like I lived on Walkmans for years. Don't get me wrong, but like I think the little cassette like players are really sick.
Yeah, no, I love that in in our bubble, like all these vintage formats are still relevant. Especially with vinyl. Vinyl's such a huge thing too.
Yeah, if anything, it's another just thing to buy to show support, and then you get that nice little physical memento of them. I mean, I bought cassettes for years, and I would open them and look at them, and then I would put them on a shelf, but I wasn't buying them to listen to them. With streaming makes everything so easy. You can listen to anything on streaming.
Yeah.
I'm buying a set just to have, I always use a comparison like baseball cards or whatever. It's just something to collect, something to trade with your friends down the line or whatever. It's just a cool memento to have of somebody and their art.
Are you familiar with Trail of Lies? Excuse me.
Yeah. I know the name. I know I've listened to some of the stuff, but yeah.
Well, okay, so they're about to release a new record, and on their website, I feel like they have done what I wish more bands would do, but I totally get why they don't, because it's so expensive. But like everything up here is like it's all like K-pop stuff, but the format CD, I don't really care about the CD because I listen to everything digitally, but it's what comes with the CD is why I'm buying it, right? There's like a photo book, there's the highly sought after like picture cards, and certain times they'll include like a rubber stamp or like a scrunchie or something special just to entice you to want to buy it. And I was like, if hardcore bands would do that with like CDs or just any format of their music, like they would kill it. It would go crazy. It might be a little expensive, but they'd have to make it worth it. But Trail of Lies, they just put out you can go on their web store and they have like a gold box. Yeah, there's a gold and a silver box, and you get in the gold box you get the vinyl, the shirt, and I think there's a zine, a hat, and like a fanny pack, which I'm like, okay, like that is awesome. That's I might not care about the vinyl, but all the other stuff I think is really cool. And that's like, pretty expensive. It's priced at $150, but I think it's totally worth it. Or you can go with like the silver box, which is just the vinyl, shirt, and the zine, but it comes in special packaging, which is cool because you could just prop that up on a shelf and it's like a cool art piece. But I don't know any other band that has done something like that. But I think it's cool that they're able to do that.
A lot of record labels kind of do those kind of like record club memberships or whatever, where you get like that special edition, or they give you those like care packages. So I always think that stuff's cool, and it would be cool if more bands do that. I only bought I didn't start buying vinyl until the last 4 or 5 years maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And I still haven't totally become obsessed with it like some of my friends have. But for a while I was really only buying if there was a special edition that was some kind of box set or something from a band that I really was into, I would buy that. But I'm not just out there buying records left and right like some of my friends do. But yeah, I think the package deals are cool. It's a good idea. any kind of like different thing that you can do to, offer somebody something special, because that's what people are doing when they buy your merch, right? It's like, again, nobody's buying, at least as far as, your music format goes, nobody's buying that, or not most people, I guess, are buying it to listen to it. Nobody's buying CDs to listen to a CD. Nobody's buying cassettes to listen to a cassette. You might here and there, but not generally. You're buying it to have something, of that band. So I think any kind of like cool thing that you can do to either make it unique or like make somebody feel like they're getting something from your band, not just some format to listen to something on.
100%. Yeah, because there's times where like I'm not like a vinyl collector. Like I have some vinyl, but not like an extensive collection. It's not like my first choice to buy when it comes to wanting to support a band. But if that's all they have, then I will buy it.
Yeah.
Okay. And going back to the EP, I just want to ask about Best Wishes, because I like that's my favorite song off the EP, because I like when I listened to it, or even like when I just listen to music in general, I always try to find like, okay, what's going to be like the one I have on repeat, and up until now it's been Best Wishes. That's the track that I get to, and I'm like, all right, this is so good.
That's awesome. Like my favorite thing, and like the reception we've gotten from the EP so far is just awesome. Like there's so many people that are just saying the nicest things, which I'm so grateful for. But my coolest thing is like my favorite thing is that everybody I talk to like has a different favorite song. Like it's not consistently like this one song is everybody's favorite song. And that I think is so cool, that like everybody's finding their own like favorite thing. It's not just like this one song that we have that's like the good one. Like everybody's got their own thing. But yeah, that song in particular, that was one of the, I think, first songs that we had like an idea for. And again, we were kind of in the writing process, like we had a bunch of these ideas and we were just trying to figure out like which song's going to be the first song, which song is going to be, figuring out which song and what place it's going to be in. But that was actually one of the first ones that was probably like done. And we started playing that one. That's the one we've been playing live the longest. And then when we started working on it, I think we dialed back on playing that one a little bit, and it kind of changed over time. But yeah, I mean, I like that song because of the references in it, for me personally. And I think lyrically, like, I wrote that song about kind of just staying idle for too long. And again, like, holding on to something for too long, kind of just letting it hold you in place and, missing out on life because of, one thing that you're holding on to. And I try to write things and not be personal to the point where somebody can't identify it. I want to have like some general idea out there, but I want anybody to be able to listen to it and kind of draw their own conclusions and make it mean whatever they want. It has a general idea, but it's not like I'm just singing about myself and like something too personal. I want to leave it open to other people to have something to identify with. And yeah, I think the recording is really cool, because one of the approaches that we had on the new EP was we wanted every song to have like its own little thing. And I just mean as far as like, what we're recording, like, Fall Forward has that like acoustic intro. Third Degree has like a tambourine part. Cut the Cord just has some like different vocal stuff that I haven't really done before, and kind of just a different vibe from a lot of the other stuff that we've done before. There's more like lower key singing and some kind of like reverb and stuff. And Best Wishes, we actually have, and it's hard to hear, and it's intentionally hard to hear, but there is kind of like that Tiger's Joy like key, like there's like some key chords very layered in like the background of the first verse. And that was just like that one thing where we want to put like one little like, we didn't want to add any one thing to make it like that thing for that song, but we wanted every song to just have kind of its own little like treat, to it. So that one I had a lot of fun with. Nate had a microchord, which I've been kicking myself for like 15 years from like the microchord that I had when I was a kid that I gave to my cousin and then never saw again. And ever since then, I was just like, man, why did I get rid of that thing? And I think, I don't know if I was just talking about it one day or whatever when we were like, practicing or whatever, but Nate was like, I have a microchord. And we were just like, you have to bring that for when we record this record because we're going to use that somewhere. If you have a microchord, we can't not use it. So, we just brought it along. I just dialed in the sound that I wanted for that. And then we just layered in that little key section. And it's very soft in the mix, but it's there. Like when I listen to it, I can definitely hear it. And I love those cool little things. Like every song has its own little story or little surprise or treat or whatever in it.
Yeah, no. Now I'm really interested because I didn't even catch that, so now I'm going to go back and try to see if I can hear it.
Now that you're listening for it, you'll hear it. I guarantee it.
Okay, well, that's awesome. That was a nice little treat, for my favorite song. So thank you. And you have a couple shows coming up. One at the end of the month, and then 2 at the beginning of next month.
Yeah, I think I have a book here. We have quite a few coming up. I think we're going to be very busy over the next couple months. I think, let's see. Itinerary here. I'm one of the worst people for like keeping track of shows. I'm always the person that's asking 2 days before the show. It's like, don't we have something on Friday? Everyone's like, yeah, we're going to Long Island or whatever. So June, we're playing Virginia, VFW June 1st. June 8th, we're playing JB Love Drafts. That's in Harrisburg, I think. We have the Massapequa VFW, Massapequa VFW in Long Island on the 9th. We got shows at the Meat Locker in Jersey on the 28th, Bethlehem on the 29th. And then pretty similarly, I think we have some weekend runs in July, and then we have stuff further out. So we got a lot of stuff coming up. And that's kind of the goal for us is we've played like a lot of our local area, and we did a weekend run last year that was like super fun, and we're just trying to do more of that. We're trying to get out of our state, and we have the connections now. It's just kind of making it happen. So we're working on that and just trying to make the best of this spring and summer and get our music to some new people. So keep an eye out. There's lots on the horizon. I'm very stoked about it.
Yeah, I think that's awesome, right? I feel like that's the best way to try to grow your audience is just to get out there and get in front of people.
Yeah, it's living the dream. I mean, this is what we were doing it for, right? So I'm very happy, very fortunate. Every day that I get to do this, it's like, man, I couldn't be happier. And we had a lot of help along the way from a lot of our friends. But at the end of the day, it was all our community and our scene. And we've worked, within that community to kind of make everything happen. And we're all really proud about that. Nobody just gave us the golden ticket to anything. We really worked hard for where we're at. And I'm happy to be able to do it. I'm getting to play shows with like some of my favorite bands and go see cool new places. And every time I get to do it, I'm very, very thankful and very fortunate for it.
Yeah, I feel like it's a nice little, payoff for the hard work that you guys put in, right? Because it's, like I said, it wasn't handed to you. You guys are out there, creating the music, and I feel like that's a really hard part to do.
Yeah, and people should take pride in that. That's the whole point of it for me is doing it on your own, figuring it out. fortunately, like everybody in this band, we've been in other bands and we've made all the mistakes that everybody makes in their first band already. So everybody came to this kind of, with a better idea of what we wanted to do and how we wanted to do it. And we've been doing it that way. All the ideas and the foundation, that we built this band on, we've been doing it that way since it started, and we're sticking to it. And it's been working, and it's been a lot of fun. So we're just going to keep doing it.
And I'm curious about your Instagram. When I look at a lot of the photos of the band, it looks like somebody's taking them on like a Polaroid camera. Is that the case? And can you talk about who's taking those photos?
Yeah. So Ben has the Polaroid, and we always kind of just hand it off to somebody after the show and let somebody take it. And it can be anybody from just somebody that's there at the show to one of our friends that's there. But yeah. He started doing that just, I think, as soon as he joined the band, and we've been doing that since our first show at the Media VFW that Stucky put us on. Shout out Stucky. And it kind of just became a thing, and we just kept doing it ever since. I think we've gotten all but one so far that we forgot the Polaroid camera for, and then we had to take it on like a regular camera, and that sucked. But it's just kind of a theme that we've been doing, and we just stick with it. Again, it kind of like that was part of the other reason that like the EP artwork kind of just worked, because we were like, well, we've been doing this like Polaroid thing, so we might as well just stick with this like vintagey kind of look. But it's a lot of fun. It's just like it's our own little like traditional thing, and every time we play a show and we get that Polaroid, I always look forward to seeing what it looks like the next day. It's just a nice little, nice little ritual for us.
I think it's awesome. Yeah. To be able to document, just those moments, because, growing up, my mom used to, like, on the weekends, right, when I was like in elementary school, my mom would like wake me up and be like, hey, like let's go take some photos in like the front yard. And I'd be so irritated because I'm just like, dude, I just want to play Crash Bandicoot. Like, leave me alone. Like,
shout out Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, shout out Crash Bandicoot. But as I got older, I started to see the value in, preserving those memories, right? Because I feel like as an adult, like time just moves so fast. So it's just like I'm like wanting to slow things down a bit. So it's just like I want to be able to look back and be able to see the good times, because so life happens and you might forget about certain things, but to be able to have certain moments that you can look back on fondly, I think it's really important. So to see you guys have like a cool thing like that going on, I think it's really awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. I think like the physical. And I see more and more of that coming back. I think people are kind of getting back into that, like having physical like photos. And, another fun fact, the camera that took those images of like the dirt bike and everything that we've used for the artwork, I still have it.
Oh, wow.
And it still works. After my dad always tells the story, he dropped it in a river while he was fishing, and like dove down into the river to retrieve it. And it still works to this day. And I still take photos with it. And it's pretty cool. I actually have some film getting developed, right now with some photos I took from that. So I still have it. I still have the photo that took those pictures for that album artwork in fucking 83 or whenever it was from.
So, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But I think that stuff's coming back, and I'm happy to see it, because just like looking through those old photos, and even photos like, because when I was growing up, my dad always had that camera, and whenever we would go fishing or camping or whatever, I would always take pictures with that camera, and we still have them. And it's cool to not just flip through photos on your phone or whatever whenever you have the chance, because I think it puts you in a position to take for granted just having that all the time. And then I think people get like complacent with it, and they don't hold on to it. Like, I've done that with my old phones. I've taken hundreds of photos on, one of my old phones. And then when I get a new phone or whatever, they go away. I never uploaded it to my computer or whatever. And I lost all that shit. So I think you get complacent when you have access to being able to take those photos and just have photos and look at them whenever you want, instead of having that kind of, like, when you develop that film, you only have that. Like, unless you make copies of it or whatever, like, you only have that, and you put it in a photography book or somewhere, and every time you flip back through it, it's like a treat. It's like, oh man, I haven't looked at this shit in a while. You go back and you flip through all that shit, and you're like, oh man, I remember this. And I think it's valuable, and I'm glad to see people finding value in that again.
100%. Yeah. I laugh sometimes because I go back to my parents' house every now and then to, visit, to hang out. And I remember one time I walked into my old bedroom and like my mom had put up like pictures that she took from my Instagram. And I'm just dying because there's like pictures of like me and like people that I don't even speak to anymore, or like strangers that like I like took pictures with on like a Dapper Day at Disneyland. But my mom just loves having memories of me around, because there's like this weird gap from like last year of high school till like my mid-20s, where there's like I don't have any photos of myself. My parents don't have any photos of me because I was gone. And then even like you said, I didn't cherish those memories. So like, I have like all my photos stored in the cloud. So like when I go to the cloud, it's like a couple photos from like 2006, 2007, and then it jumps to like 2012. And then even like in like those 2012, 2013, 2014 days, like there's very little. And then I start to ramp up where I'm like, all right, I need to start, creating or saving these memories so I can, look back on them. Because it's weird.
I think the same thing happened to me. And I think a lot of it, has to do with, having that phone and always having access of that. Because it was like, all the shit that I ever uploaded on Facebook whenever, the 2 years that I was on Facebook or whatever. And, you take a bunch of pictures or whatever, and then your account goes away and you delete it or whatever, and it's all gone. You get too used to having that access and just being, having that unlimited source and being able to take as many pictures as you want. And, it gets overwhelming. And then after a while, you just don't care. But when you have that physical format of it, it's like you care about that. It's like it's something you can touch. It's something you can hold on to. And, it means more, at least to me, than, just having something on your phone.
Yeah. There's on this side, there's a photo of me and my buddy Tyler that we took at LDB. And I think that's like the only photo that I took this year at LDB. But it was important to me because Tyler's such a good friend to me. I was just like, dude, we have to capture this moment because like, it's my first time in Louisville, first time at LDB, and this was just a long time coming. So it was just a very special moment. So I was like, dude, we have to capture this. And like, I have a digital version, but to be able to get the physical, that's why it's like, I put it right there just because it means a lot to me.
Yeah. It's like, you'll always have it, Well, the servers can crash or whatever, and all that shit could be gone. But, you'll always have that physical copy.
Yes, that is true. And, we got this far talking about the band, but I never asked, where does the band name come from?
Yeah, it's me and my friends growing up, and I always give a lot of credit to this, even though it sounds horrible. It was just like constant like verbal and physical abuse between my like circle of friends. It was just like constantly berating each other and trying to provoke each other into fights and, wrestling and just beating each other up and just constantly antagonizing each other. And we wanted to come up with a band name that was, fun to say. It wasn't too long. It was easy to remember. It would look good as like a logo, and we could like do a lot of cool stuff with it. And we tossed around a lot of ideas, and I just I don't know where it came from, but I was just thinking about like growing up and our circle of friends here in Nazareth. And one of the things that it was just like one of those phrases that we would always just, like, anytime we were in an argument or whatever, or somebody was pissing you off, it was just one of those things that you would just say over and over and over again until somebody would want to fight you. And Ethan, my friend, I can always remember. He was like one of the most notorious one that you'd get in an argument with him, and he would just sit there and yell, "Okay, buddy, okay, buddy, okay, buddy," until you would just want to smack the shit out of him. And I pitched it out. I was like, it means something to me, and I know it meant something to Dan. I think it can mean something to other people. You can say it different ways. It looks good. It's easy to remember. It's fun to say. Like, it's phonetically just like rolls off the tongue. And everybody was just into it, so we just stuck with that. But I've had people ask, is it like sarcastic, like "okay, buddy," or is it like "okay, buddy," like in a different way? And I'm just like, it's whatever you want it to be. I think it's cool that it can like be said different ways. So, it's that's the origin story of "Okay, buddy."
Well, it's a great one. Well, I'm definitely a fan. I'm stoked on the EP. I hope I'm able to see you guys at some point in the future.
I'm sure you will.
Yes.
We'll be making our way out towards you at some point. I guarantee it. We're working on it.
Okay. Awesome. Well, keep me in the loop because I'm down. I'll be there wherever it is out here.
Appreciate it.
But I appreciate your time. Before we sign off, is there anything else you would like to say?
Just go to shows, support your local bands, shout out, all of our homies and everybody that's helped us along the way. I mean, everybody knows who they are, and we appreciate you every day. I think about it every day. I'm very grateful to be where I'm at, and just keep on keeping on. It seems like it's not going anywhere. Just keep on keeping on. That's all you can do, and that's why we play music.
All right. Well, there you have it. I appreciate your time, Lucas. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll be back soon. Goodbye.
Thanks, Jamie.